Have you ever stopped to consider that half of your belief system or more might be complete BS? And have you ever looked at people who have different opinions from you and paused to think to yourself, maybe they're right about some things and I'm wrong? Because maybe all human beings have an evolutionary mechanism that make our beliefs very selfish. Beyond selfishness, have you ever paused to consider that many of your beliefs or the beliefs of others may be limited as a way of protecting you because you don't think you have what it takes? In this video, we're going to challenge you to take on a new concept that we call your belief systems. Your map is based on brain plus lane. Say it with us, brain plus lane. And what we're going to do is challenge you to understand things in a new way and challenge you to upgrade your map.
So did you ever ask yourself, why do so many people have different beliefs than me? You know, you look around, some people think rich people are great. Some other people think, screw rich people. They're horrible. They're selfish. People think alcohol is great. Partying is great. Other people think, you know what? That's maybe not for me. I'm going to go for a green juice, a green shot. People think fast food is great. People think health is great. People think working out is great. People think it sucks. It's a waste of time. People think the government is great. People hate the government. There's all this division, all these different beliefs. Did you ever ask yourself why?
Why?
What's running this? Where did this come from?
Why don't they think the same as me?
And it can be frustrating. You look at some of your friends like, why don't they fucking believe it? Here I am, I'm trying to show them this map, these new beliefs, and they're just stuck. They're like, screw it. I'm sure you've experienced it with just personal development. Hey, bettering yourself. That's great, isn't it? Nah, not me. I don't believe that's good. Why? What is running this?
Why? But this video is so cool and helpful. Why can't they see it?
Look at it. No, that's not cool. You know what's better? Beer. Crazy. So what runs it? And as you said, it really comes down to brain and lane. Okay, so what does that mean? Brain is the brain power that you have. So let's just take that friend who's like, you know what? Self-help is not too great. I like to drink. I just like to drink, party. I'm not really going to work on myself. That person, based on the brain side of it, their brain power, probably doesn't believe that they have what it takes to get there. It's like, I'm just not smart enough. I don't have what it takes to really dedicate myself to watching videos like these, to working on myself. So why even go there? This is not going to help me. It will actually make me feel worse about myself. So as a form of protection, I'm going to block that off. On top of that, there might not even be a lane. There's no direction. They don't even see how they could get there. And once more, they'll block it off. And you can really see this illustrated everywhere. All these beliefs, you can really break it down to brain and lane. This is what controls and is at the source of that map.
It's pretty exciting to show you this concept because once you have this awareness, you're going to have an inner calibration about how other people are acting, what's running them. But more importantly for you, perhaps, is you're going to have awareness of what is running you, how your mind is affecting your perception and messing with your beliefs. So I want you to think about the fact that there's inner cities where a lot of people smoke crack cocaine, they do heroin. There's even outback cities where entire populations of people, huge amounts of them are huffing gasoline, huffing paint, or engaging in horrible acts against each other that are unspeakable. And there's so many different reasons why we can attribute to this, okay? There's many different sort of angles that we can take to this, but one of them is this brain and lane concept, because if you go into a wealthy environment, you see somebody who's being very successful, and you look at their belief systems and their habits, and then you look at somebody who's in poverty or in a negative environment or a very dark or heavy energy type environment, you look at their habits, their belief systems, there's clearly a gap. And when you understand how each of their minds are working, you can start to see the patterns in yourself, but also you can see who you're dealing with and what it is that you're dealing with. So Julien did mention a very simple one, such as self-development. That's a very, very obvious one, but really we could go into a lot of these. And self-development, it's truly an act of grace that you'd be at a point where you would even consider looking at that, because like Julien mentioned, there's many of your friends who, if you show this to them, they won't look at it. Why is that? Unconsciously, they have a belief about how much prefrontal cortex control they have, how much willpower muscle they have to even execute the concepts that they would learn in self-development. They also have an understanding about how much extended focus they have. So one is emotional regulation in the mind, and they know this unconsciously. How much emotional regulation do I have? The other one is how much extended focus do I have, the mind is saying. How much retention do I have? How much willpower or stick-to-itness do I have? And if the person feels that they have enough, well, if they read a personal development book that's giving them new ideas, they're thinking, wow, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But conversely, if they don't think they have those things, then anything they could read or learn or see in a video, they're going to shift their belief system to, this is stupid, I want to drink, or whatever it is, because they don't see any upside. Essentially, it's a seesaw, and they have to see an upside. Likewise, like Julie mentioned, they have to see a lane. Is there some kind of niche or area or kind of winning lane that I can apply this to? For example, take Grant Cardone. We went to Grant Cardone's TEDx seminar. One of the big things that Grant Cardone tries to do is he says, forget being middle class. And by forget, I think we'll use the F word, forget being middle class. Or he'll say, you can work 10x harder. Well, that's we love Grant Cardone. That's something that's very appealing to somebody who's at a point where they're like, wait a minute, should I work a 9 to 5? Or do I maybe have what it takes to shift my belief system, right? So when Grant Cardone says, become a 10Xer or screw being middle class, he's trying to get you to take on a new belief system that could help you, but is only going to be applicable to somebody who believes that they might have the prefrontal cortex, like the emotional regulation, the extended focus, stick-to-itness, the ability to persevere, things like that. So he's got to start to prepare you for that and get you thinking like that, but then he's got to give you a lane. So, for example, Grant, he gets people looking, among other things, that say real estate.
Yeah.
So maybe if now you kind of get them believing themselves, you give them a project like real estate, they start to shift. Now, and we're going to give many examples. I want to go a lot deeper. We'll pop up to the bridge, get many examples on this. But the cool thing about it, you have to understand, is that when you give them that confidence and you give them a project that they can really apply themselves to, what starts to happen is that you will see yourself changing. You will see yourself evolving. There's many different books about different paradigms. You could read Spiral Dynamics, Power versus Force, Levels of Energy, different books about different paradigms. Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, The Complete Human. I'll look that one up. Maybe we could mark that up. So I think it's Carl Rogers or something. There's all these different books on paradigms. They're all amazing. And whatever paradigm escalation model that you are interested in, that's not so much the point, although they're all great. But it's rather that by having that belief in your mind, that self-belief, and then having a project or lane to apply it to, suddenly you move through different paradigms. We've seen this even in ourselves with coaching, even doing dating advice stuff. You see guys beginning to move up the chain as they gain beliefs in their faculties and they find a lane with which to apply their skills.
So I remember back for myself, before moving to Los Angeles, I took this summer job in Switzerland working on a garbage truck. And those were the people I were around, people who kind of ended up there. And the beliefs were very interesting. I was working on that truck to make money to then move to LA and, see what adventures I could go on, see what I could build. And whenever I'd say that to the people there, they thought I was insane. They're like, what do you mean moving to LA? Nothing will ever happen there. There's no possibility. You just got to settle. It's dreaming. You're wasting your time. What is this? And I never got that. I'm like, why don't you want more? Like, why are you not dreaming about more? Why is it so limiting? Like, why are you just knocking out all these possibilities? And you might have friends who do the same thing. You talk about your dreams like, that's just a dream. That's not for you. Other people maybe, but that's not for you. Don't waste your time on that. You're just going to end up disappointed. You're like, why don't you believe in this? Why? Once more, brain and lane. They don't see the lane. For most people in Switzerland, it's like, what? Going all the way to America? That's impossible. Blocked off. And then once more, brain power. Do you have the brain power to go in a new situation, to deal with all the adversity, the challenges? And for most people, the answer is no. If you look around, most people are just in this derp state, in this daze. Most people can't even read a book, like past the first chapter. Most people drown themselves with booze, eat junk food, and of course you're not gonna have the mental capacity to deal with all those challenges and all the different steps you have to go through to get there. Just think most, paths to success, all the shit you have to do. Right now, if you're starting at ground zero and say you're into, like we were talking about grants, like real estate or entrepreneurship, you're looking ahead and you're like, man, I got to do this, and then I got to do that, and then probably to scale things, I got to build a team, and then that's going to go to shit. I'm going to have to learn that, and then this, I'm going to have to manage them, and then all the legal shit and the contracts and that, and then I grow, and then the money, the investment. It's so much. It's so overwhelming, and a lot of people are like, well, that's too far ahead, and they just block it off. And you'll see it. Entrepreneurs who take the first step and they just stay stuck there. It's like the little me business, because they just don't see themselves scaling it up and killing it. So they block it off. And this really explains, once more, a lot of those beliefs. Why do people just drink and stay stuck? I took the garbage truck example, but even in my small town in Switzerland, I used to think like that. I was like, well, there's no point, whatever. Even when I met you, I got to LA, but you always have that ceiling, all those limitations. And you tell me like, hey, read a book. eat healthier. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really see that as being me. I could do some stuff, but nah, and I would just not do it.
And the main key is whether or not you believe there's a payoff. You have to believe that if you engage in a better habit for yourself, something's going to happen. Because again, it's like a seesaw. If you think that you can feel good right now, but if you forego feeling good right now, it's not going to make that much difference later. There's very, very little incentive. Part of my journey with you was letting you see a lane where there could be a purpose behind it. So one of the first things I said to you was, if you say on Perfection Challenge, that was when he was going to go out drinking, eating healthy, and doing a lot of different work tasks he had, I will fly you to Miami, and you will be sitting on a beach in Miami, and Miami's so crazy. Now, to you right now, Miami, you go there all the time, not a big deal. But if you've never seen Miami, it is stunning, and you can show someone pictures of it. So what I wanted to show you there was, if you stick to something,
there's a payoff.
There's a payoff, and I wanted you to have that initial thing. So a lot of time when you're first teaching somebody, you're trying to show them a payoff. And it's the same thing with you when you're teaching, say, transformation mastery. People have to believe there's a payoff. If I let go of trauma, there's some kind of payoff, because it's going to hurt to let go of trauma, or maybe I have to invest a bit of money to take a course to let go of trauma. Well, is there a point in it? So much of what you're trying to teach someone initially, like if you're going to try to teach those guys from, say, Switzerland on the garbage truck to do better for themselves, there's a couple keys to it. First, they've got to believe that there's a payoff if they do this. There's got to be some bigger payoff that tilts the seesaw to where stopping that bad habit is going to have this big payoff. And they've got to see it, and it's got to be real to them. You've got to get them picturing it, seeing it, feeling it, and making it real to them. So that's a big part of self-development. From there, though, you've also got to help them with even controlling their mind, because a lot of them could be drinking, using drugs, eating processed foods, which means they have it's going to be depleting their emotional control. Read the book, The Ultramind Solution by Mark Hyman. Ultramind Solution by Mark Hyman. Ultramind Solution by Mark Hyman. And what you can learn about is how what you're putting in your body is affecting your ability to have extended focus, the ability for your mind to function clearly, not to get upset. A lot of the time, again, with that brain thing, people are worried like, I'm just going to freak out, I'm going to get upset, it's going to be overwhelming, I'm going to be in over my head, and they don't believe it is. So again, when you're coaching somebody initially from, to get them off the garbage truck or whatever it is, garbage truck man's great, honest work, but if they want to think bigger than that or beyond that, which there's many things beyond that, again, you've got to make them see it, see the goal. Like right now, what is your goal? See it, feel it, make it real. Attach your present self to that future self so that you're moving the seesaw in a direction where there's more weight based off that seesaw. And then also, what little things can we do right now to make your mind function more clearly, whether releasing via things like transformation mastery, meditation, which helps you to clear your mind, going to the sauna to get the toxins out of your body, taking spice shots to get your mind firing up a little bit more, maybe some Eastern herbs, or anything that you can think of that's going to get you thinking more clearly and get you more intelligent, starting to read a little bit of books or some problem solving, just taking baby steps towards that. And once you get yourself moving in that direction, your thoughts and beliefs start to change.
Yeah, like seeing it, believing that it's possible, and then believing that you can do it. If you don't believe you can do it, again, there's not that brain power, and you're not doing what you can do right now to increase it, you're not gonna do it. This is why a lot of people don't even go to the gym. That used to always shock me. I'm like, why are you going to the gym? Like, look at you. Like the average, especially in America, the average American, just look at them. You're like, why aren't you going to the gym? They don't believe they can do it. They probably tried in the past, and at this point, they just gave up. And because they know, what, I don't have the willpower, the discipline to do this, it's just not for me, their beliefs change.
And what would be the payoff for them to do it anyway?
Yeah.
For a lot of them, even if they were more fit, there wouldn't even be a payoff.
Exactly. But then what you do see is people who actually, say, plow through. They're like, you know what, I'm going to do it. They might hire a coach, someone just pushes them. As soon as they start seeing results, suddenly things change. And you'll see it. Like people are like, screw the gym. I don't need that. I don't need to be like all buff, whatever. It's just for validation. And then you start going. And so you look at yourself like, oh shit. I had that. Like I lost a lot of weight and I was looking at myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. I can actually be one of those people who's fucking ripped. And suddenly all the beliefs change. I'm like, what, going to the gym is
by
great.
Our standards, by the way. We have some friends that are ripped.
By our standards.
Yeah. By our very low standards.
By very low standards. We are damn ripped.
But Brandon Carter and Elliot are watching this. They're like, cool, bro.
But it was funny. Like suddenly, you didn't have to like make yourself do it. You felt inspired to do it, and all those beliefs shift. It's crazy. And I just see it for myself now. I was talking to you in Switzerland. I had that belief of going to LA, but there was still a cap. It's like I moved to LA and I'll just kind of wing it there, but I'm still self-destructive. As opposed to now where it's like, look at everything I've done. And that's the other thing. Your track record of success will also help you buy into the fact that you can accomplish more. And now looking ahead, it's like, of course I could do that. Of course I could do that. That is great.
That's where small goals really helps, because as you keep buying into your success, you're building on confidence. For me, a big one actually was reading Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, and The Fountainhead. I hadn't been reading in a long time, and just reading those big books made me think, well, now I could read anything. I could read The Power of Now, because that's only 200 pages. Or another one was for me when I created the Blueprint program. I spent 4 years creating this digital program, and or it's a video program, and then once I spent 4 years on a video program, I was like, well, I can make more programs. That's also why, even with some of the instructors on our team, I actually encourage them now to do a program sooner, just to break that barrier at a sooner level, even if it wasn't super successful. I mean, think of you when you released your first digital program. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it was extremely challenging.
But now you know you can do it.
Yep. Going through that launch, and after that, it's like, of course I can do that. What's next? And it kind of opens the doors for that next step, And I guess we could crack in some examples how the beliefs change. I mean, we talked about, say, someone who doesn't believe they can perhaps make a lot of money to stay safe. They're like, okay, I don't got the brain power. I don't got no lane. Fuck those rich people. They suck. Being rich sucks. Scammers, corrupt.
Snaky.
Snake oil.
The real truth. Let's be real. You don't get to that level without stomping on heads and leaving
I'm of integrity. I'll stay at the bottom, but I got integrity.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy.
I don't want to be one of those corrupt motherfuckers, those Wall Street fucks. I'm integrity. Yeah, I don't got much money, but at least I got my values. That's the belief. But guess what? If that person, and you'll see people shift, suddenly there's a lane that opens up where they can make a lot of money, they'll go back on that immediately. They're like, oh yeah, of course money is great. Well, people who think integrity, they're just playing it small. Money is great. And same person, different beliefs, lane opens up. Or suddenly the brain power, and that's why you keep pumping it here, like do whatever you can to increase that brain power.
Keep raising your brain power. Whenever you do things to hurt your brain, you don't realize that you're actually altering your perception about what's possible. You're messing with your map when you're messing with your brain power.
Yeah, we just think, oh, what's a little drink? Boom. Brain power goes down. Beliefs change, and you become more and more limited.
We've seen this for years in dating advice, where somebody who doesn't believe that they have the brain power to handle maybe a rejection doesn't want anything to do with it, right? Because maybe a guy goes out, he gets one little rejection, because he doesn't have the prefrontal cortex to emotionally regulate his response to that. He'd just rather believe it's impossible to do it. Or maybe he doesn't have the discipline to go out regularly and work on his social skills, so he'll believe it's impossible. And then from there, his map will actually be altered so that if we give any dating advice, what it looks like to them is like, ooh, leading you down a path of false hope. Ooh, come on to the thing. We're going to show you the way. Just like the person who's that anybody who makes money is out of integrity, they're going to see it that way. And literally, and we've tested this is how we know, there's nothing you can say to somebody like that when their reticular activation system, their selective focus, has that belief. And the crazy thing too is if you get around somebody like that and you start to let their beliefs soak into you, you can even start to believe, like me and you with the results that we've got in our life experience can get around an environment like that. Did we ever even do anything? Have I been in my basement the last 10 years? Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you got to be careful what kind of maps are even infecting you and getting around people with better maps. Because when you see somebody who believes in their confidence, their ability to emotionally control themselves, their ability to go out and work on their social skills every day, that person's like, there is no limit. I can get better at this. It's a skill set. If I improve on my skills, it's sky's the limit. A big factor with the map that you have is the map if you believe you're at the cause or at the effect. If you think you're at the effect of your looks or your money or these things that you can't control, though you can control them to an extent, and you should, but maybe can't immediately control that same day. If you think that you're at the effect of that, you're in a very, very limited map. People who are incredibly successful, they believe they are at the cause. A big part of their map is they are at the cause. They can find a solution. They can build on success. They can celebrate small victories. They can expand. And notice how so much of this is coping versus thriving, protection versus growth. So oftentimes in self-development, a great self-development teacher, the stuff that we're working on, Anthony Robbins, Grant Cardone, our friend Ty Lopez, Elliot Hulse, Brandon Carter, many other great self-help teachers. I've missed tons of them, good friends of mine. What they're doing is they're not just working on you at a level of information. They're working on you at a level of shifting your map. They're even, like when Tony Robbins gets people jumping up and down and pumping their brain, pumping them up, getting them expansive, it goes well beyond what you think it is that he's doing. What he's doing is say that he gets saying, say yes, yes, say yes, yes, get powerful. When you're in that mode and you're unstifled, next thing you know, you start to get a focus and your brain goes, wait a minute, maybe there are different beliefs. Then Tony comes in, he gives a little bit of seminar, a little bit of ideas about how you could be the cause, not the effect, not be a victim. Notice that the lowest map is always victim. That higher enlightened map is always about being at the cause, that the sky's the limit. So
I do want to add too, by the way, with the little jumping up and down, you can try this now. Just look at your beliefs and what's possible with your day. If you're kind of tired, you're watching this like, I don't know. But if you actually jump up and down right now, like just for 10, 20 seconds, just jump up, give a couple screams, clap it out, and then you're like, what is possible? Just that rush of energy will suddenly open more doors. The beliefs will change. This is on a micro level. We're talking about this on a much more macro level, but just that gives you that proof of like, oh, wow, crazy. Like the map changes.
Based on physiology.
Yep.
Based on just getting blood flowing in your brain.
Yeah. So
I mean, your belief system could just change from a cup of coffee, probably.
Yes. I mean,
like it really could.
It does. I mean, you see people who are like hooked on coffee. I remember in Nepali, our friend Aaron.
Yeah.
You remember that? So we went out to Nepali, and this is a guy, love the guy, drinks a lot of coffee.
He does drink a lot of
And
coffee.
he'll admit this. He's been drinking coffee for years, loves his coffee.
And by the way, funny part, nicest guy of
Ever.
all time. Nicest guy ever. No coffee. He's like the devil.
Yeah.
It's like he'll start mocking you. He'll be like, whatever, bro. Just fuck off. And you're like, and it's
and
Aaron.
you're really cranky too. So yes, we were in Hawaii.
Sweetest guy ever. In regular life, hi, how can I help?
Hey, oh really? That's great. So we go on this hike and he doesn't have his coffee and it's a different person. And he's like, oh, it gets grumpier and grumpier. And then we finally go back and he gets his coffee, drinks it. So he's like,
nicest guy
hey,
ever.
again?
It lets you see things in a new way, in a different way, and makes you realize that the reality that you're in is not necessarily the most accurate map. And that's what's so unfortunate with a lot of the conflict that we see in the world is people are so addicted on their map, and they can't imagine another way of thinking because they're in this kind of mental swamp of stagnation, can't pull out of it, can't see beyond it. And again, a lot of people ingest a couple different things to get a different perspective. But in self-development, what we can do is come together in a seminar, say transformation mastery, releasing trauma, letting go of heaviness, waking up, looking at different possibilities. I've done this in a lot of different energy work videos that I've done. And the reason that we do a lot of this different work is because if we're gonna set you to go on a task of improving yourself and give you tangible metricized goals that you can put metrics on and test and look at, we also wanna get you internally aligned so that you're like a race car driving without parachutes on the back, holding you down. We want you to be aerodynamic and sleek, moving towards the goal, or you almost feel like a magnet's pulling you towards the goal. Because when you have that high belief system about what's possible, what begins to happen is you start to move towards your goals easily and naturally. Of course, when you don't believe it's gonna help you, or when your mind's not primed for it, your mind is limited and stagnated because of lifestyle choices, well, of course it's gonna be just very, very difficult to slog forward and move forward. But if you knew right now that if you just ran around the block quick one time, there'd be $1 million and like all the most attractive partners in the world ready to meet up with you and give you a big party, you would sprint around that block. It would take minimal effort. So a great deal of this stagnation that you're in is changing that brain and lane, working on it, celebrating small victories, and then from there, it's not so hard anymore, but it actually becomes a magnet pulling you forward. Things become easier.
And you can do this right now. We gave you some like advice in terms of like, okay, increasing brain power, be aware of what you're taking in nutritionally. But even in terms of lane, like sit down and ask yourself, what are some lanes right now where I could be perhaps making more money? I mean, this is a lot of reason people don't work that hard or just kind of stay stuck in their job because they don't see a way up. It's like, well, I'm in my 9 to 5. I mean, I guess I could get promoted in a while, but it's not a big promotion. And what else am I going to do? And it makes sense. You're like, okay, if there's no, upside, if there's no next level, well, why not stay small? Why would I even think bigger if there's no way to get there? I'm just like creating false hope and then just hating where I'm at even more. So block that off. So right now, in your job, write down, are there any lanes? Financially, in terms of my health, in terms of relationships, what are the lanes? And as soon as you see one that you believe is possible, and you can baby step this, like what's just 1% up there? Write it down. You're like, there is a lane. You're going to notice right now your beliefs start shifting. Like, you know what? You can actually do this. All that other stuff, time to let it go. That was all bullshit. Now there's a possibility. Go for it. You know, if you knew, same with like working out, like, oh, I can actually do this. It's like this magnet pulls you. You're like, let's go. Like everything just shifts and aligns with that. But you got to see the lane and you got to believe that you can handle it and you can do it. So whatever you can do to increase brain power, do it now. Accumulating small wins, nutrition, even in terms of like reading a book. I know I talked about this before, but most people can't read past that first chapter. If right now you challenge yourself and you're like, I read 2 chapters, 3 chapters, eventually you're gonna be like, I love reading now because I can finish the books. And now you're on this roll. Most people never even start a book. Why? Because they know they can't get past the first chapter. It's like, well, if I can't even finish it, why start? So every small win, sit down, and there's another habit. Daily, what are my successes today? Our default is to tune into our failures. What are 5 successes today? And any small win helps. Like, well, I got out of bed today. Bravo, like pat yourself on the back. Not as a way of just, okay, I've made it, I'm gonna chill, but like, what's next?
And really put that win in your nervous system. Don't go, that was good. Be like, that was good. Yeah. That was dope.
Take it
That
in.
was the shit.
Yes.
And really take it in. Prime yourself. Tony Robbins teaches that. He calls it priming. He has his own version of it, but it's key.
Yeah, even right now, sit down and be like, fuck yeah, I made it this far. You might be like, that little voice, yeah, but you suck, you could be further. No, you made it this far. Take that in. Congratulate yourself. Every day before going to bed, congratulate yourself. Like, you know what? I killed it today. I did this, this, this. Even if it's small things, and guess what? The next day, they'll be a little better, and a little better, and a little better, and eventually you're like, you know what? I did all that. Of course I can do all this, and possibilities open.
Yeah, and really stop and think about your life right now and what your life's potential could be in your health, wealth, relationship, and higher purpose. Who could you be? Who could you become? And would it be worth it? A major key is fleshing out what would it be worth to you? That is massive because you're trying to shift that seesaw. In a lot of personal growth work, when you go to self-development seminars, one thing that we're always trying to get you to do is to flesh out, like, let's ask you some questions. How would you feel if you achieved this small goal and then built on it to bigger goals? How would it affect your loved ones, your children someday? What kind of example would you be? And you can even look at it, things from like higher purpose, day-to-day practicality, and even some petty kind of ego fun purposes. So, you know, naughty ones. So it's like higher level. How would this affect you as a mother or father? How would you offer more value to the world? Who would you be as a person? What pride would you have in yourself? And how would that emanate to make the world a better place so that on your deathbed you felt better about your contribution and your spirit would go on in awesomeness because you made the most out of this journey on earth? That's higher level thinking. Day-to-day thinking is, how could you make more money? Maybe live in a kind of a cooler place. Maybe visit the Golden Gate Bridge, visit some cool areas. How could you live a more fun life? There's a lot of practical concerns. This stuff's important too. You got to take care of yourself and have a nice life. Enjoy your life. And then from a petty concern, how could you show those people who didn't believe in you that they were wrong and you were right and you're so cool? And funny enough, all of them are equally valuable in my opinion because we always shift from a higher consciousness to a day-to-day consciousness, and we even shift to a lower consciousness. But when all parts of the mind are aligned towards the goal, we will keep moving forward. From there, think about the goal. How would you feel? How would that feeling make you feel? If you felt that way, what other cool things would you do, and how would that make you feel? If you're thinking of eating that naughty food, maybe think to yourself, if I feel tired today, I won't get work done. If I don't get my work done, I'll feel depressed, and I'll be out of cash, and I'll be a less good example, and those people who I want to prove them wrong will be proven right. You know, and you can kind of go down that chain. So really take the time, and when we do self-development work with you in our courses, we really take the time to flesh this out. Take the time to flesh that out.
And remind yourself too of that bigger picture goal. You know, when there's a certain challenge, you're like, okay, say I want to eat the healthy thing or not. It's like, ugh, what do I get right now from eating healthy? Yeah, versus the junk food. But if you think about that long-term goal, the ripple effect this one decision will have.
Yeah, ripple effect's massive.
That seesaw tips, and you're like, okay, if I don't eat this unhealthy thing and I eat the healthy thing, this will happen, and this will happen, and then this will happen, and there's a lot more leverage to doing so. And in terms of buying in as well that you can do it, look at other people who have been in your same situation or who have been worse off than you that have gone on to make it. If they can make it, so can you. And you might think, oh, it's impossible. No one understands me. I'm this unique case. You're not. You're not a special snowflake, okay? It doesn't matter how, bad you think things are for you or how hard it is for you. Someone has been in your exact same situation at one point in time, if not way worse, and has made it. If they can, so can you. No one's cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, ripple effect combined with connecting your present self to your future self. So massive ripple effect and looking at how all the different emotions will flesh out from your higher self, day-to-day self, and lower self, combined with making that connection between present and future self. There's that very cliched analogy that you go to a group of kids, you say you can have one marshmallow now, or if you wait half an hour, you have 2 marshmallows. Oftentimes the kids that wait for the 2 marshmallows are the ones that are going to be very successful. The ones who want the 1 marshmallow go on to be failures, or, to whatever sense, very generalizing. To a loser.
Losers.
Yeah, those kids are losers. You go, you little loser, eat the marshmallow, little kid. But essentially, and you should say that just like, eat the marshmallow, little kid, although that can make it too funny, you want to do it. So you have to make that connection from present self to future self. So anything you can even do where you have that track record of little goals, and then you see, wait a minute, I made a little goal, that was the past, this is the future. When we were doing that Miami thing, I kept hammering you with, remember that several months ago, Miami seemed foreign and weird.
Yeah.
Now we're here.
And really to take it in too, it's like in Miami, instead of just, another thing, future thing, it's like that whole congratulate yourself, like realize, wow, I am here. It did happen. All those things
Let the wind land.
led to this. Yeah, let it land, take it in, and then your mind like, whoa, if I put in work, this could happen. If I put in more, what else could happen? Yeah.
So connect present self to future self. And if you're, for example, if you're getting drunk and you connect to your future self, you're like, this is a hangover. I am ingesting a hangover. That's an easy example. That doesn't mean to never get drunk again. That's really up to you, but at least know what it is that, at least go into it with your eyes open. I think you can do some naughty things here or there, some self-destructive things here or there. It's within a balance, but at least have your eyes open instead of just doing it to like stuff trauma and you don't even know what you're doing. It's just derping. So I guess some big takeaways from this is, one, I hope that this gave you a better understanding of what personal growth work really is. Why does Julien do transformation mastery? He's getting you to let go of baggage so that you can move forward with a greater belief about yourself. He's funny
and more
enough,
brain power. Like
that's
if
what I
you're
was
run
gonna
by
say.
that trauma and just nonstop like that refrigerator hum, I mean, you can't focus on anything.
Yeah, very key here is that I grew up having attention deficit disorder. They put me on Ritalin, which is a light level crystal meth, is my understanding. Luckily, I didn't take it too much. But what I've learned since then is that my version of ADD as a kid, where I couldn't focus on anything, was probably trauma-based. And so because I'm stuffing trauma as a child, rather than getting me to release it, they give me meth. And I haven't stopped since. So
And here I am
they're
today.
like, is that true? So
So I hope you learned a valuable lesson here.
your mind connects present self to future self, and you're jacking your brain power all the time, and you're also doing things like letting go of trauma. When you let go of trauma, a lot of the ADD has the potential to clear up. The depression has the potential to clear up. When you're thinking more clearly, you're going to see more lanes, and your map's going to change. There's a great book called Crucial Conversations that talks about how to relate with people in a way that's not triggering them. Most people, when they get mad, are just like, you did this, you did that, and they're doing that because they don't have the prefrontal cortex power to deal with that emotional impulse, stay calm, ask questions to have a tentative kind of crucial conversation. You could read that book, Crucial Conversations, about how to communicate, or nonviolent communication. And these are the kind of communication styles that you need if you ever want to grow really big, to
Or
grow
even
inside
in
a team.
relationship. Like
Gotta
that's
grow a
a
relationship.
must.
A lot of guys who say, I'm a big pimp, you know why they're doing that? Because they can't stay calm in a committed relationship and relate with someone in a committed relationship, so they'd rather just go from partner to partner. And if you want to do that because you're learning about dating, great. But if you're doing that because you actually would really like to stay with someone, but you just can't do it because you explode, that's a limitation. So that being the case, like things like crucial conversations, building teams, working with others, taking on big goals, realize that the brain and lane effect is always at play and will dictate your opinion. Your opinion of the matter, my opinion, my belief, is often dictated by a part of your unconscious mind. And that's why so many people have different opinions about things, among other reasons why. And then in addition to that, realize that in personal growth work, a lot of things like cheering, jumping, letting go of trauma, a lot of this crazy stuff that you see pumping up, incantations, why are teachers doing that? We're doing that because we're trying to shake you out of one belief system. We're trying to change your physiology, what's going on in your mind, the blood pumping in your mind, the neurotransmitters pumping in your mind. We're trying to expose you different maps like a psychedelic
Give
odyssey.
you proof. Like if you do the jump up and down, it's like, whoa, I can actually think like this. I can feel like that. Proof that this can be you, that it is within you.
Yeah, truly great self-development work is a lot like taking a psychedelic drug. We don't really know, but from what I've read about it, a lot of people like ayahuasca, DMT, because even things like MDMA. It just like I could love like people who take MDMA, ecstasy. Like I could feel love for everyone. Oftentimes in a self-development course, you actually stimulate people to feel love and to feel love for all, just to show there is a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
Your map can change. Your map can be upgraded. Your map can become more complex expansive and rewarding if you do the work to improve your brain and lane. Anyway, we're just chilling on the Golden Gate Bridge, getting a little bit chilly. We're gonna run off to do some work.
Some meth?
And we'll do some meth so that we can work all night. We'll see you soon.
Brain.
And peace.
This is Julien, and welcome to Transformation Master.
It was fucking amazing.
This was huge for me. This was so important.
This gave me by far the greatest epiphanies I've ever.
And we got like real deep, and I found some issues within myself.
One of the best things I've seen so far in my life.
What you're about to experience going through this program is what completely changed my life on every single level. Okay, be it health, wealth, relationships, higher purpose, you name it. This is the stuff that finally produced that true, long-lasting personal transformation we're all after.